doing, my friends sitting here or those in the cyberspace? You're good? The life is treating you nicely? Uvascula is getting warmer or colder? You like autumn? Who likes autumn? Or who doesn't like autumn? Well, you don't like autumn. What did you like? Can you explain? Because we didn't meet last week, and if you have any questions, comments, and it seems that we have new arrivals in the class. Have you met before? No. You came yesterday. Would you like to introduce yourself? We have two new people, my friends in the cyberspace. There are two new colleagues who have arrived. Yes. Would you like to introduce yourself? You're? Okay, and you're from? Oh, you're from Nepal. Okay, great. And you arrived yesterday, you said? 5-6 days ago. So you started already having your classes? Right, good. And the lady next to you? Great. I think the people from Nepal and Sri Lanka, they are really growing in Uvascula, yeah? Especially Sri Lankans, because I don't remember, people from Nepal, they have been visiting Finland quite often. But I think this, I'm talking about Uvascula, of course. I don't know about the rest of the country, but this very nice move that the students from Sri Lanka also have started considering Uvascula. Ajadi, everything good?
It's good now, it's good.
Great. Do you have Tilini or anyone, Yusufo, if you have any questions or anything you want to ask before we start our session? Is anything you want to ask me? By the way, Tatiana would stay back with you half an hour after we finish both sessions. And if you guys in the cyberspace, if you have any particular question which you want to get clarified, then she would spend half an hour. And the deal is that every time we meet, Tatiana would be spending half an hour with you in the cyberspace, and she can clarify your queries, or at least if she's not able to answer you, she can write it down and convey to me later on, and then we can find some solution, right? So it's more like a half an hour tutorial session only for people who are in Zoom. But of course, those who are sitting here, if you have any questions, you can ask me directly, no problem. That's much easier, yeah? So, okay, so if you have no question or no query, could you mute yourself, because I plan to record this session so that we don't what's going on here? Could somebody be generous and shut down this door? If we start now, but sorry, I didn't ask you. You guys have any questions or any comments? Anything you want to ask? Okay, and in between, I would be taking the pauses to answer your queries. Well, we discussed in brief about utility. Utility is the pre-consumption satisfaction that we attach to a consumption of goods or service. Before we consume, consumption is not an unconscious decision. It's conscious, it's conscientious, in the sense that you make an informed choice to consume something or not to consume something. So there's an ex ante and ex post phenomenon. I want to eat food, okay? I'm feeling hungry. I know what should I eat and what shouldn't I eat. But after eating, I can give a comment if the food was good or not. So the thing which we attach, the kind of attachment, the bond we create to a commodity or a service before consumption is called utility. But whether our expectations are met or not, that is called satisfaction. We can be satisfied, we can be unsatisfied, we can be less satisfied, we can be more satisfied. But the kind of pre-consumption value that you attach is called utility. Because the idea of utilitarianism, which is quite a tongue twister, was given by Jeremy Bentham, and he basically focused that there is a moral reasoning of happiness and sorrow, and the same happiness and sorrow also goes when we want to consume or not to consume something. But in reality, what we do, we never consume only one thing. Look at your kitchen. There must be several items you consume. Look at your wardrobe. There'll be many dresses. I mean, we have a variety of consumption. We are not living in a primitive society where we only eat one type of food and wear only one type of clothes. And we have very a lifestyle is not, dynamic. But you see that over the time, over the centuries, over the millenniums, people's consumption have increased, the living standards have improved. So it means that there are many products and services which used to be a luxury, is now a necessity. I bought my first mobile phone at the age of 32. So could you believe it? Would you like to wait till maybe 12 years more to get a mobile phone in today's age? No. So the idea is that there are many products, there are many goods and services which could be a luxury at one point of time. Like, for example, the air flight used to be a luxury. People having cars is a luxury, but now they are so down to earth that they're so accessible. But we can't. The happiness, if you look at this thing, you feel happy, you feel satisfied, you feel angry, you feel jaded, you feel frustrated. These kind of things, these are qualitative phenomenon. But the thing is that in economics or in any business studies branch, we need to quantify them. We need to get some reflections. I think I gave this example to you before, but I have no problem in saying or repeating that some phenomenon, they're so qualitative that we need to quantify them, because unless we quantify them, we cannot really understand what exactly they imply. If I say that Uvascula is a safe city, people are safe. Now, safety is a qualitative phenomenon. Do you get my point? But how we reflect, how we measure that it's a safe city? Well, the one way is that we can check the police records, how many crimes are committed on monthly or weekly basis, and then we compare with some other cities, and then we can say that, you know what, we have seen the police records, and we can say that in this city of Uvascula, the average crime rate per month is 10, let's say. I just cook up numbers. And then we compare with some other benchmarks with the bigger cities or the same comparable cities. And we can say that, you know what, in this city, same population, almost comparable, apples to apples, have higher number of crime committed per month. Now, the safety, which is a quality, becomes a quantity. If we want to see, again, the point is of safety. What other measures we can have about safety, except that there can be some crimes? And then maybe you can subdivide the crime into some different categories. Like, for example, some minor crimes, some minor altercation, to the extent of stabbing or to the extent of committing murders, which is a very extreme thing. So we can also further do it, the category, the serious crimes or the less serious crimes, okay? So this way, we can have a reflection. So therefore, it's very important that when you are studying any economic or business phenomenon, you are able to create some measures to quantify the quality. And this quantification, these measures are also called proxies sometimes. Okay, if I say that a student is very intelligent, again, being intelligent is a quality. How do I know that the student is intelligent? Well, I need to make the student sit in the exam and check the grades, check the marks. That would be a quantity of intelligence. Now we can debate, we can discuss, this is not a good measure, we can have a set of multiple measures. That's a different topic of debate. But the fact of the matter is that we have some measures or proxies to quantify the qualities. C1, I have some mathematical model here, but we don't go into the mathematics too much. Imagine that there is a society, there is a country, and there are M for Mumbai, there are M number of people living in that society. There is a consumer 1, call him C1. There is a person, consumer 2, call him C2, or C3, call her C3, and C4, and so on. And they are consuming X1, X2, X3, X4, and N type of products and services. So it's like a matrix where we have M number of consumers and N for Norway, number of goods and services. And then we can find that the consumer one's utility satisfaction depends on, look, I think I discussed before as well, that like in mathematics, we use Y is a function of X. When I say Y equal to Fx, or Y is a function of X, in non-mathematical sense, it means that Y depends on X. So the X value change and the Y value changes. And in this kind of relationship exists in every branch of business studies. Like, for example, I can say that the sales revenue of a company depends on or is a function of advertisement. Or I can say that the cost of a company depends on R&D. Like, higher the R&D, less is the cost, these kind of things. So we can create the functional relationships in the field of business studies. So if I ask you, let's put it this way. Imagine, and this is my question to everybody. Everybody means everybody, even in the cyber, in Zoom as well. If you want to become a professional, let's say you are offered an employment letter. So now you're employed, right? Or you're thinking to accept or not to accept the offer. And now you're given a choice to negotiate with your boss. And let's imagine that you are not really in a dire need to get a job. You have the options, by the way. So I'm making a scene behind you. So you are asked to negotiate with your potential boss. You sit with him or her, but at the same time, there is no real desperation to accept the job. So it's not the situation that, I want a job at any cost. No, that's not the case. Now, please tell me, if I can create a functional relation, that job is a function of what? So what variables, what comments, what contents would be affecting you to accept or not to accept the job? What first parameter would be if you want to accept the job? Or let's put it this way, same things which you want and also same things which you don't want. Salary. So we can say, we can make a relationship, we can theorize it that higher the salary, more is the likelihood that you will accept the offer. Can I say it this way? So the employment is a dependent variable here. You can see here, C1. I can call it, because I'm talking about job now or employment now, I can call it E1. Is a function of X1. Let's call X1 as a salary. Obviously, you don't want to do charity work. It's not something which you like. Of course, you want to do it, but not for the rest of your life. So the first variable which can affect your decision to accept or not to accept a job is the absolute amount of salary. First criteria. Second, so now we talk about X2. Yeah, anyone? Stability, that's very important. Like in finance, in the hedge funds, or in some very stock-based jobs, when the people get employed, they have massive amount of salary, but then there's no guarantee that you stay in the job next month. There are some very kind of unstable jobs, but then there are also for example, the public sector jobs. The salary is low, but you almost, you stay for the rest of your life. Yeah, I know in many countries people prefer the public sector jobs because the probability of you being sacked is almost nothing. So the stability of jobs, so let's call it X2. Yeah, so I can say that the decision, let's call it C1, doesn't matter, to accept a job depends on X1, which is the salary, and X2, which is the stability of job. What is X3?
It could be like, sir, facility.
Facilities, yeah, I think that's what you're talking about. Some extra benefits. Yeah, we call it perks. Perks, or the exact name is perquisites, but that's a bit complicated. So as an abbreviation, we call it perks. So the kind of benefits you get, that you have some gym, there is a subsidized food available, there is a work culture is very good, but that's a different variable. I mean, these kind of things, some extra benefits, right? We can talk about extra benefits at length, or even then there's a transportation facility. Your place you live in is very far away from your workplace, and there is this this bus service available. There's a shuttle available, and same way when you are resettling, your employer is giving you some free apartment for many months, as long as unless you find some arrangement, so all these things count a lot. I mean, for example, if you live in Jyväskylä and you have to move to Helsinki for the job, and you may negotiate with your employer that, hey, you know what, I just can't pick my stuff and find a place. No, don't worry. We have company apartment. Live there for 1 month. Meantime, you find your alternative. You say, okay, great. So I'm not in pressure to, What other variable can affect you? Sorry? Working hours. Hey, there should be time to sleep. You can't work around the clock, can you? No. So if there is of course you can, as a professional, you sometimes are ready to work harder or longer hours, but it should be only an exception, not a norm. So the point I'm trying to make here is that there are some dependent variables who depends, like in this case, your decision to get the offer accepting or not accepting, it depends on, is a function of, is equal to F function, depends on many variables. So all these words I'm using, X1, X2, X3, these you can call them as determinants, factors. More in the research studies, we call them as variables. Which variables? Independent variables. So these things, salary is an independent, stability is independent, work culture is independent, working hours are independent. So all these X1, X2, X3, X4 combined, they make an impact upon your decision to accept the job offer or not to accept it. Make sense? So like consumption of first consumer depends upon several goods and services, and like second consumer, like third consumer, and so on and so forth. As I made you believe that there are Mumbai number of consumers, the last consumer in the society is this. And his or her utility function is also X1, X2, all these different goods and services. And when we combine them all, like one consumer in a society, second consumer, third consumer, and we put them together, then it becomes, oh, sorry. The societal utility or the social utility, sum of all the above individual consumption functions. So we believe that the consumption or the utility of the consumer in the country is additive, which means it can be added up. Look, this is why the government plan, you see that the governments are providing certain subsidies to some industries, some sectors, but the government is not very generous to certain industries and certain sectors, because they see the consumption, the total societal consumption, they check the previous year, and then they find that, you know what, these goods and services are more in demand. Let's encourage the production of these. These goods and services, people find them outdated or out of fashion, obsolete. So why do we give subsidies to the people who produce them when there's no demand? So it means that the government and even the businesses, would you like to, as a CEO of a company, as a CFO of a company, when you see the data of the previous year or the previous quarter, and you find that, you know what, we're selling 6 products in the market, this product is getting low revenue, you know, it's not really getting popular. Would you consider to either abandon the production or make some changes to it? So it means that the consumption is providing a very important tool to reassess yourself and then reflect accordingly. So the governments, the tax authorities, you see, the tax authorities also see that, you know what, like consumption, they find that the consumption of certain brand of mobile phones is going really up. It means the companies, those who produce them, they are earning a lot of money. Let's tax them more. You see what? So this is the way sometimes things work. So basically, this is what I said already, that utility is the want satisfying power of a good or a service. But remember that utility is not same as satisfaction. They look very similar, and they are actually. But the only fundamental difference between the two is that utility is a pre-consumption and satisfaction is a post-consumption, before and after. And then we talk about a rational consumer is a utility maximizer. A rational consumer always wants to get his or her maximum satisfaction with the limited or with the given amount of resources you want to spend. Whether you are rational or not rational, you can see yourself when you go to the store every week, either you have a limited amount of cash in your wallet, or there is certain, even if you're using your card, there's a limit to which you can spend. Okay, you can't buy a jet, you know. And then you go there and you find the goods and services. Very often you pick up something, you first put in the cart and then you put it back, because you find that maybe there's a more pressing need than this. Or you can find that this is something that in the other shelf, you can find something much better quality product. So you go to the store and you never just go and randomly pick up things. You make an informed, rational decision to pick or not to pick. And even if you pick, sometime to put it back on the shelf. If you're doing all these things, actions, based on, because in the back of your head, you are thinking two things, that is it really useful to me? Is it so that the consumption of this product is postponable, but I can't postpone the consumption of the food, the basic food? Or is it so that if you go to another shelf, you can find the same product, almost same functions, but from another brand, which is much cheaper? When you're considering doing these kind of things, then you're a rational consumer. I think you all are a rational consumer. Sometimes we are so irrational that we don't even know that if we are rational. So, but the fact of the matter is that we all are rational in one way or other. Okay? Not fully. Sometimes we are swayed away. Sometimes you are obsessed to buy certain things because it's your passion. You don't care about the price, right? You want to buy a certain dress, let's say, and you know that, you know what, the day I have these resources, I can skip my couple of meals, but I want to buy this. And suddenly you find that the price of this product has gone down and there are only few limited items left in the stock. Guess what will you do? You will just go and grab it before somebody else buys. So we do show, of course, we are human beings, we're not machines. We can't be fully rational 24/7, 365, no. There's always a scope of showing the non-rational side of our persona. And don't feel bad about it, we all are. Nobody is perfectly rational. But usually we are, in the normal circumstances. Utility can be considered as the foundation of modern day business world. Of course, the producers, how would they decide to produce or not to produce? Or if produce, what brand, what functions, what alterations, what experimentation? It all depends on utility, that how they see the response. You see what, when some of you will be writing thesis in marketing or studying marketing courses, we do these consumer surveys, right? And then you can get some idea. Or even if you don't do the consumer survey, you can take you can check the records of that which product has been consumed more in the last week. I think I told you before that I used to work in Marks and Spencer in Britain. And every day, we not only have the total data of sales of the whole store, but the whole store sale gets split into the section, men's section, women's section, kids section, those hardware. And then from there, you can find out the even more microscopic data of each product within a section. And if the revenue is consistently dropping of a certain product, then what they will do? They would either replace it with a new thing coming up, which is in the warehouse, or they would move from the front looks to the back looks, where it doesn't really catch the eyes of consumer. And what they would bring in front, those products whose revenue is really going up exponentially. So even the storekeepers of the store, they would know how to make a change in the layout based on the data of the products sold last week. So how important is utility? Massively. We have the concept of diminishing marginal utility. When you consume something, when you consume same, similar, continuous things, then what happens? At some stage, more you consume, lesser additional satisfaction you achieve. So basically, the additional satisfaction which you get by consuming more declines. And at some stage, we say no more consumption. Can you comprehend it? Imagine a situation, you're very hungry, you go home, and there is food. and look at the first portion of food you eat. You'll be hogging for it. Then second, maybe you're a little bit calm down, your nerves are calm. Third portion, and at some stage you say, no more portion, I'm done, I'm fine. And if you still consume it, even we overconsume it or we overeat it, we can fall sick, right? You get my point? Then the additional utility can be negative. So the thing which you consume is giving you not benefit, but minus benefit or negative benefit or causing you a loss. So we consume, we continuously consume, we consume the similar product, similar units, and at some stage, the marginal, the additional utility declines, and then we say, you know what, no more consumption, and if you consume more, it will backfire, what we call as a negative diminishing, negative utility. It makes you sick. So the thing which you're consuming, which you're thinking that, hey, if I consume, I'll be very happy. The same consumption of the thing, the same thing, is basically causing you loss, causing you damage, right? The taste of the first beer is the best. Is it true? Or is not true? Sorry for a very alcoholic example right in the morning. Or I can say that the taste of the first portion of the food is the best. You believe it? Mm-hmm. And then we go on, and at some stage we say no. When you say no more food, no more additional food, it means that now your marginal means additional utility is zero. You will not get any more satisfaction by consuming more. But if you are still bent upon consuming more, then we might have some health issues. And that is what I call negative marginal utility. Is this idea comprehensible? Can you get it? Mm-hmm. Do you see any exceptions to it? I mean, when I say exception, which means that more you get, more you want. Even more you get, even more you want. So when basically your additional utility goes up, more you consume. About food, things, clothing. Okay, you like certain brand of clothes, you get it. You have another, another dress, same design. You will not be so happy when you got it first time. And then you say, you know what, I don't want to buy it because I have, my wardrobe is full of same dresses. You even start thinking of giving to somebody else, to your friends, or even just selling off, whatever. And why you do it? The same dress you are desperate to buy, but now you don't want it because you're bored. When you say, look at the word, you get bored of wearing it. It means that now the marginal utility of this outfit is down. You don't want it. Now, I have two questions for you. First of all, you tell me that is this idea understandable? Do you comprehend it? Number two, which is even more important, do you have any examples when this behavior is not applicable? And I give you some time to think over it. All right, yes, you have a point. The gentleman has a point. The lady over here has a point, but let's go one by one. What's your point? Money. On money, the law of diminishing marginal utility doesn't apply. Why not? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, that's a good point, but let's focus only on money for some time before we go to next point. Do you think, and also including my friends in Zoom, do you think that the law of diminishing marginal utility doesn't apply on money? So if I don't talk about this technical jargons, in simple words, more money you have, more you want it, and that stage would never come when you say, you know what, I don't want any money. No, 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 no. I'm so rich that I don't want any money. Please take it away from me. And if you still have more money, you fall sick. Like food, that you have it, you like it, you drink water, you eat food, wear certain type of clothes, and then you say no more. No, 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 not at all. Does this behavior reflect when it comes to money, wealth, property? I can expand it, but the same thing. Yeah. Yes, the lady over here.
A fixed amount of money, there's no more.
It also applies to money. Very, very interesting. So the basic idea of what you're saying of the study is that more money you have to sacrifice your happiness to the happiness. Okay. Very good, very good. I think the kind of, yeah, I think this is a very good point, because imagine you were an unemployed student and now you get a job, you get the first salary, maybe, and then you get your first bonus, first increment, but maybe at some stage you don't even care about when you are at certain age or at certain level of the career, you don't even care about the increment. I mean, imagine at my age, if I get even double salary from another employer, I would not just go and grab this job, because you know what, I have my friends here at my workplace. I know people, I know I'm into the system. At a new place, I have to start all over again. Maybe if this offer was made some 20 years ago or some 10 years ago, I would have considered seriously. So even the double salary will not allure me so much. But if I'm in a very young age, very beginning age, and I just get my job, and soon after, I'm still in my early 20s, mid 20s, or even early 30s, and I got this big offer, big increment, you know? So the consumption of more money would make a decision, make an impact upon me differently. That makes sense. Anybody else, but still with money? Still get stuck with money. More money you get, more you want it. More wealth, property, inheritance, you get it, more you want it. Any exception to this? Sorry? Power. No, let's focus on money here. Yeah. I mean, power and money is quite. The gentleman, did you have this different point in the beginning? Not about money, but okay, let's discuss then. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
More, and then you go and make bigger contracts and
go in. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I also see that even in this case, the law of diminishing. Sorry, the folks, if you don't understand it, the gentleman said that if you achieve more business successes, you grow, your profits grow, you expand more, you get more happier, you get more satisfied, and you want to achieve even more. So in that case, the law of DMU, diminishing marginal utility, it's a tongue twister, doesn't apply. But I would say that if you think carefully, even there the law applies. Imagine you are an excellent actor and you work in some Hollywood movies and you get your Oscar award. You get your Oscar award. Will you be happy? Will you? It's a dream come true thing. But would you be equally happy when you get your 23rd Oscar award? Tell me the truth. You're such a great actor that you are almost winning Oscar every year. won't you feel bored, or won't you feel, I won't say bored, but won't you feel that, you know what, this, I know I'm getting, my living room is getting bigger. I have to buy new cabinets to keep the new Oscars. But tell me the truth. Would you feel the zing, the euphoria, the same way, the intensity, the reaction, in the same way as you did for the first couple of Oscars? Tell me the truth. So what I'm saying, if there's a bigger than Oscar award, then the law doesn't apply. But if it is an Oscar, Oscar, Oscar after Oscar, then the law applies. So the very important thing when you understand this law is that there is a homogeneity of what you are getting. Imagine, I can bring this very bit complex example to the, again, food consumption item. Imagine, I go home and I'm very hungry and I'm just hogging for the food. And I get something and I eat it. And then I open the fridge and I find that there's more delicious dish there. And I consume it. This consumption, even though in the hierarchy it's number 2, it gives me more utility than the first one. And the law is violated. But why the law is violated? Because the consumption is not of the homogeneous products. Do you understand what I'm saying? Or not? You go home, you are really hungry, you grab whatever is available, you eat it, and then suddenly you open the fridge, you find that, hey, there was far more delicious dish there, my favorite one. And then you eat it because you, of course, you like it. Even though your hunger has gone down, but the kind of satisfaction you achieve, maybe the first consumption, the first unit of consumption of the dish was a compromise, basically, because you're hungry, you wanted to eat something. The second one is not only giving your hunger down, but also giving you immense amount of happiness, because that's your favorite dish. The law fails, but the law doesn't fail, because the law assumes that there is no heterogeneity, there is a homogeneity of the consumption. Like Oscar, one Oscar, second Oscar, third Oscar. But if the reward is not homogeneous, then the law doesn't apply, but that's not the failure of the law. We assume, every law has assumptions. Every law is based on some presumptions, and here we have the assumption that there is homogeneity of the consumption of the products. Does it make sense? Or not? One more assumption. Let me see something in the chat. Power doesn't apply. Yes, but if you have the same power, you have yeah, in a way, yes, the power makes you hungry. We say that the power corrupts and the absolute power corrupts, absolutely. But these absolutes can change from one context to another context. If by power you only mean your company is buying, acquiring new, so imagine you are a company and you are showing a very aggressive behavior in the corporate world, and you find that your competitor can harm you in the business, and you do all type of buying the share secretly, you acquire it. So you acquired a company, you will be having a big party, I bet you. You removed your competitor, but then you also removed your second competitor, third competitor. Believe me, when you get rid of your sixth or seventh or eighth competitor, that happiness or the sense of achievement will not be so much as you got on the first acquisition, the first takeover, the first, when you grab the first company. Make sense? Maybe the last couple of companies are so helpless that they would come to you, in fact, and say, you know what, we are a company, but we can't fight with you. You're such a big, massive company. Can you buy us? They can just surrender. You get my point? This is what sometimes the startup do. They make their presence felt, they make themselves shiny star, and then at some stage, some big sharks come, look at them, and then go and grab it. So here we go. So in the similar situation, in the homogeneous situation, the law applies. So the first assumption of the law is that homogeneity of achievement, what you get, what you consume. The second law, where the law may seem a bit wobbly, you can have doubts, when we have the discontinuous consumption. There is a discontinuity in the consumption. For example, we have our first meal in the day. First meal, first portion, we're hungry, we eat it. First meal, second portion, first meal, third portion, and we say, no, I think I had enough of my breakfast. But then after 5-6 hours, you want to eat your lunch. Won't you start consumption again? You again become hungry. Again, the first portion, second meal, second portion, second meal, third portion, third meal. So now you can say that, Shab, you're saying that after eating certain portions, the law of DMU, your additional benefit becomes 0. But now I become hungry again. Then my answer would be the law only applies if there is a continuous consumption in a given time scale. If the gaps, discontinuity, then the law breaks down, not law breaks down, but the applicability of the law breaks down. And then when you start the second round of consumption, the law still applies on lunch. The law still applies on the dinner. And likewise, the law is only applicable if there is a continuity of consumption. But if you give a gap of hours, days, whatever, you wear the first certain dress, and you see, you can only get bored if you are wearing this dress on consecutive parties. But if you wear this dress now, and then the next time you wear it after a long time, maybe you behave differently. You with me? You win the first FIFA award or the first Oscar, and then you win the second Oscar after many years. Maybe you would be even happier. But the problem is that there's a discontinuity of consumption. All right, make sense? Yeah. The third factor which can seemingly go against the law is the dissimilarity of consumption. Or you can say dissimilarity, or how to say it, unreasonability, dissimilarity, unreasonability of consumption. I'll give you one example. When you want to consume something, there is a certain unit of consumption. You know the size of bread. You always say cup of tea or cup of coffee. You say glass full of water. We never say jug full or spoonful of water. Do we say it? You with me? You were walking in a scorchy June summer afternoon. There's no water around. You go home and you find, oh, there is water. Will you drink water? Will you? Yes, you will. In which unit you will consume water? Where would you put water in you consume before you consume? Sorry? Bottle or let's say the glass? Yeah, so there is a certain standard unit. But what if there's no bottle and there's no glass in the house? There are some spoons. Can you visualize it? There's a water in the big pot. let's assume you can lift it, and there's no glass, but there's a spoon, and you're consuming in spoon. I can bet you this will make you even more thirsty. And you may become so, desperate that you can throw the spoon away and you can pick that big pot up and start gulping it down. Hey, the spoon full of water is making me even more angry and more, behave in a different way. So what it means then? Would you say that the law has failed because the first spoon gave you less utility, the second spoon gave you second utility, more utility, the third gave you more, and then after consuming water from the spoon after 1,000 times, you say no more water? No, that is wrong, because the whole premise is wrong, because you are thinking to consume water in spoon. Spoon is not a standardized unit of drinking water. Does make sense? So there are these three major principles of exception to the rule. But of course, like any law, in the scientific studies, it's very important what law says, but it's even more important to study what law doesn't say, or what are the circumstances or situations when the law is not applicable. This is the beauty of scientific study, that we like a thought, and then we have the right and the courage to criticize it and explore it more. So therefore, I can give you thousands of exceptions, but the three principles of exception is that the law only applies if there is homogeneity of consumption, same type of products. The law is applicable if there is continuous consumption. And the law is applicable if the unit of consumption is standardized. Like standard means there is a standard of drinking water, glass or bottle. There is a standard of eating food. There is a plateful of meal. Yeah. If you are eating, if you're drinking soup, eating or drinking, then there's a bowl. So we have certain standardized, yeah. You can buy the house, the first house gave you satisfaction, more, second, third, then it became a routine, but then suddenly you are planning to buy a shopping mall. You can't compare it with the behavior when you bought the houses, because the mall is not a house. It's a building, but it's not a house. It's a different purpose altogether. So don't compare. So there should be some homogeneity of comparison. Only then you can compare. So there are so many exceptions, but the idea is not complicated to understand. This, what I said, is here. Yeah. So for example, we have certain, we are consuming beer. Oh yes, great, why not? And I just made some numbers by myself that it could be that you have certain fictitious units of satisfaction on the first, second, third, fourth. So the level of satisfaction, the level of utility is going up, up, up. But at some stage, if you notice this next column, this is called marginal utility. Marginal utility. The marginal utility is that even though the total utility is increasing, but the speed at which your total utility is increasing, the velocity, the speed is going down. Can you see that? You get more satisfaction on the first unit of consumption. Second, less than the first one. The third, less than the second one. Fourth, less than the third one. Fifth, less than the fourth one. Sixth, less than the fifth one. Seventh, less than the sixth one. Eighth, less than the seventh one. Ninth, less than the eighth one. And 10th, it becomes negative, because it could be possible that after consuming a 9th pint of beer, the person, if still drinks, will fall sick. Sickness is a bad reflection of consumption. This is applicable in every consumption. So at some stage, when we keep consuming, but remember, this is a continuous consumption. You can't say on first day, second day, third day. No, then it doesn't apply, because here is discontinuity of consumption. So we assume that the law only applies if there is a continuity of consumption of a certain homogeneous product. This is why I keep the same example here. I didn't change the example. I continued with the same product, same brand, everything same. And here you find that the additional units go down, 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 and some state. You can also see this from the pricing point of view. On the first unit of consumption, you might be willing to pay more price for the beer because it gives you more satisfaction. Maybe in your mind, the price you're willing to pay, it goes down when it's a second unit. And as you go down more and more and more, and now you're not getting so much of satisfaction. Now you're in the party and things are going on. So it doesn't really appeal you so much. You drink certain drink fourth time or fifth time. So if you have to buy it, then the price which you are willing to pay will also go down, because the additional satisfaction is also going down. Are you with me? Look, there are two types of prices. The one price is at the till point, which remains same. If you're having a party in a restaurant, the price which you pay at the till point will not change. It remains same. But then one price is based on your own mental calculation, based on your satisfaction. That price will go down because that price is indirectly proportionate to the amount of satisfaction you're getting. Remember the example? You are lost in the desert. You want to drink water. And let's imagine that the market price of a glass of water is 2 euros. Just imagine. And you are at the risk of dying out of thirst. And suddenly you see the water. The guy is selling water, is offering you the glass of water. And he's saying, you know what? I know the price is 2 euros, but from you, I want to have 100 euros. Will you pay or not? Is it taking money from, is it stealing money from your pocket? You are paying it because the mental, the price, the real price, the price of use, the price of usage is more than the price in the market, the till point. So that is why the price you're willing to pay is exactly in proportion to the additional satisfaction you achieve. So for example, I can say, I can make some kind of assumption that on the first beer, maybe a person is willing to pay 20 units of price, on the second unit, 18, third, 16, and at some stage, the price you're willing to pay goes down because you are getting less and less satisfaction from it. So this is why the whole pricing system in the economy is based on the utility. You can't charge more price from the consumer on the products whose utility is low. And you only charge more price from the consumers when the price, when the level of utility is higher. You with me? But that's a bit complicated. So I want to keep the example simple. More you consume, I can show with the cursor, more you consume, the lesser the additional benefit you achieve. As a matter of fact, the more you achieve beyond a certain point, your additional benefit can be negative also. The same thing which was giving you satisfaction is now giving you dissatisfaction. That's my idea. Make sense? So do we have the second session at 11? So should we resume at 11:15? Yeah. Okay, so we are back after the break and we carry on this discussion. But one thing, when we went to the break, I thought of something more about money, which I missed to, I didn't remember to share with you. The fact that the law of diminishing marginal utility is applicable to money also. Just imagine a situation. The two guys, one is super rich and the other is not so rich, kind of very poor. Like they lose €1. They lose the coin. They were in the forest. Both of them have lost €1. Who will make more frantic effort to search for it? All else being equal, the guy who got a lot of money, even if he lose certain unit of money, he doesn't care much. But if the same amount, the same unit of money is lost by the one who have it less, will make more efforts. Why so? Because less you have, more marginal utility is attached to it and more hard efforts you do to get it. So that is also one rule, okay, one example. But somebody can argue that what if the rich man is exceptionally a miser? You know the misers? The miser, they don't like to spend. Even if they become very rich, they don't want to spend. They always want that somebody else should pay for the bill. They go to a restaurant, they are super rich, but still they want somebody else to pay for you. Huh? What do you call them? Animation. Ah, okay, some character. So they want somebody else to pay for you. But then I would say that then they are not rational or normal human beings. In economics, we only look for the normal, accepted, average behavior. If the too extreme, then we don't, because in economics, there is a concept of economic man, which is not gender specific. Economic man or economic human being is rational, normal behavior, based on common sense. But of course, the mankind, the humans are very complex machines. They're very complex creatures. And the degree of complexities deviate, can push them on away from the definition of being a normal or an average person, what we call as economic man. So the extreme abnormality in our behavior or reflection requires certain specific type of economic theories. But this law is more general, more average, more for the common behavior. Okay. So yeah, that's what something I want to talk to you. And you can see that as we saw, now we can see the formula, but you know it already, that the marginal utility of nth unit you consume now is equal to total utility of the units you consumed so far minus the total utility you consumed 1 unit before. So remember this formula. So if I take you one slide back, the reason I wrote it because you can see and recall. The total utility of 5 units is 74, right? The total utility of 1 less than 5 unit is 4. You see, n minus 1 is 66. The difference is 8. This is the marginal utility of nth unit. So the marginal utility of 5th unit is equal to total utility of total utility of 5 units minus total utility of 1 less, that is 4 units. And that would give you the marginal utility. Same way, the marginal utility of 6th unit is equal to 7. And this is calculated by the total utility of 6 units minus the total utility of 5 units. And that gives you 7. So you see the formulation and the real numbers. And this way, and when this total utility, when this marginal utility becomes 0, unfortunately there is no 0, but I think between 9th and 10th unit of consumption, 0 will come somewhere. But anyway, when it becomes 0, that is the point of stopping down the consumption. Now is the point when you stop the consumption. But if you consume even further, then the same thing which you will be liking a lot can actually create a problem for you. And here you can see that I drew these things figuratively. And you can see that the curve of total utility is going up, number 1. The blue line is total utility and the red line is the marginal utility, okay? And you can see that this is going up, 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 but at some stage, can you see that? From 4 to 5, it's almost static. So you consume 4 units or 5 units, it doesn't make any difference. It means that the additional satisfaction you achieve by consuming the 5th unit is 0. Can I say so? And you can see that here, the red line is exactly touching 0 because from 4 to 5, there's no real addition to your total utility. So when your total utility is static, that is when the marginal utility is 0. And this is the point. So ideally, this person, these are the packets of crisp consumed per day. So I won't recommend you, but for this person, 5 packets of crisp a day is the most ideal consumption. If he goes further, then not only the total satisfaction will go, but the additional benefit will be negative. So you can see that the line of total utility goes up, it becomes flat, it may even go down. We don't want it, but it may go down. Whereas the line of marginal utility is throughout downward sloping. But one thing, when you are going to further probing, you can see that this line of total utility, let me share with you something. This line of total utility, the total utility which you see here is like this. Is it so? But it's not like, let me change the color. But it's not like this. Or it's definitely not like this. So this is the right shape. This is the wrong shape. And this is also the wrong shape. Can you tell me why? Can you recall from the slides that the total utility is going up? It's like a, how to say it? It's, what's the word? It's called concave, the origin. So this is called concave. When the shape goes up like this, it's called concave. I think in science, you read the convex lens and concave lens. Sorry about my spelling. The red one is convex. And the straight line is a straight line, this one. Why can't, my question is, why can't your total utility be a straight line or convex to the origin? Because when you see the shape in the slides, it's definitely convex. So it's not just incidental drawing that it happened to be concave. There is a reasoning behind it. The reasoning, anybody can highlight why it's concave? Because if it is convex, before you decide what it is, let's find out what it could be alternatively. Could it be convex? Answer, no. Why not? Convex means more you consume, more you want addition to it. How do you know it? When you move from this to this, your addition to satisfaction is this much. But when you move from here to here, your addition to satisfaction is this much. This absolutely is against the law. By doing so, we'll keep eating for the rest of the life. You start eating breakfast, the first unit, the second portion, third portion, it gives you more satisfaction. More you want it, more you eat, more you want it. We will never stop eating. I mean, this is insane, or this is totally unrealistic. Do you get my point? Therefore, one thing is for sure, that this cannot be concave to the origin. And same way, the same argument apply if the line is a straight. Because if it's a straight line, if you consume more, you get the same amount of satisfaction you got before. If you consume again more, you still get the same amount of satisfaction. So these additions, they would never change. So this, you never know that, you never reach that point where you say no more consumption. The only realistic reasoning is that you eat first portion, then second portion, then third portion, maybe fourth portion, and then you say, you know what, no more food, because if I eat even more, I'll fall sick. So the only thing which is close to the common sense, the common behavior, is when the line is concave to the origin. And this is exactly, I chose on purpose to draw the line as a concave to the origin. And you can see that your additional benefit goes down, 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 till you reach the point number 4, but you don't know if it is this the least point, and you consume one more unit, and you can see that when you move from 4 to 5, your total utility remains same. This is an indication to stop consumption. Make sense? So that is why there is the shape and its trajectory. You need to remember that never, I mean, for example, in the exam, you happen to draw this picture and it comes out to be that the line is convex to the origin, and you say, and I give you less marks or cut your marks, and you say, Shab, you said that the line has to be upward sloping. But then I say, you know what, you are right. Your drawing is opposite to the basic essence of the law. You have shown increasing marginal utility, whereas in reality, we have the diminishing marginal utility. So therefore, make sure that you draw things properly. Rational consumer. Rational consumer. I want to have some ideas from you, who you call a rational consumer. I think I explained it in the previous session, but I still want to get some more inputs from you, because this word rational is very important, but very confusing at the same time. What do you mean by rational? And give me some example of your rational behavior. Yes, the lady over there. Yes, you pick up things which you really need. Yeah, and that's what you need. And with the given money, remember, the consumer is having limited income. Even Richard Branson have limited money. It can be hundreds of billions, Elon Musk, people like them, but they also have limited amount. The limited doesn't mean less. There is a limit, So therefore, when you are spending the money, you keep in mind that you get the money's worth. We often say, hey, is it even worth of buying it? Is it money's worth? So basically, you are acting as a rational consumer. But when you don't care about it, you don't care about the quality, you don't care about the price, you don't care about these things, you don't even know your priorities, what you need to consume and what not to consume. You pick up things and maybe rest of the week you remain hungry or you borrow. That's not rational behavior. So everything which basically could be termed as a common sense based behavior, that is called rational behavior. According to the rational consumer behavior, you keep consuming a product as long as your marginal utility is more than the price. First of all, tell me, what is the shape of marginal utility? It's very important for me to know from you. What is the shape of marginal utility? Based on the figures you saw some time ago.
Concave shape.
Sorry?
It's a concave shape.
But that's total utility. I'm talking about the marginal utility. Marginal addition. Okay, I give you these numbers very quickly. I escaped. Yeah. Look at this. Marginal utility. The first point, second point, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, tenth, whatever. When you see these numbers, and if you have to draw these numbers, if on the x-axis, there are points of beer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on the vertical axis, on the y-axis, if you plot marginal utility, how the curve would look like. Sorry, I heard a whisper from somewhere. Somebody whispered correctly, actually. Very good. So it's a downward curve, right? So can I say that the total utility curve is concave to the origin? What the marginal utility line or the curve is downward sloping, as you can see the red line here. Okay, now remember this shape. I want to make the discussion a bit more serious now. Okay, I stopped sharing it and I have a new share with you. Have a look. Let's go to new one. So here we talk about MU, which means marginal utility, which means additional utility. And I also take price of the product here. And here we take units of, let's say you want to buy apples. Before you go to Lidl or Prisma or any store, you know for sure that your line, the marginal utility curve of apples is downward sloping. Do you agree with this? Do you know it already? Or don't you know it? Do you know it already before you go to store, or you realize after you consume apples? Utility, we know that is a pre-consumption and satisfaction is post-consumption, even though they look quite same. But in theory, utility is ex ante and satisfaction is ex post. Post means later, ante means before, or this way. And you know that the price of an apple in the market is, let's say, an apple is for, what type of shape I drew, is 30 cents. A packet or one apple, whatever is a unit, is 30 cents. And the price will be fixed. When you go there, as long as you remain in the store, the price would be 30 cents per apple, let's say. And you know that this is the marginal utility curve of apples. Please tell me, what should be the equilibrium point? Equilibrium point means which should be the point you want to achieve so that you get the money's worth. You really get, and here I can take apple 1, apple number 2, maybe 3, 4, 5. The price is 30 cents per apple. You can buy any number of apples from the store. At number 3, this point reaches. So my point is that as a rational consumer, where should you continue consume, from where to where, and where you shouldn't consume any further? What is where the buck stops? Where should you stop the consumption? Why so?
Consumer actually wants to make benefit and make benefits from the exact as he or she wants to pay.
Okay.
This is the,
Yeah. Remember, economics is it in economics, the two-way traffic. We pay, we get. As long as you get is more than what you pay, what you give. What you give is price. What you get is marginal utility. Yeah. Yeah. So when you buy 1 apple, exactly 1, what you get is this much. What you give is this much. Yeah.
more than the price that I paid.
Exactly. And then what happens? Because still you gain more than what you pay, you move to the second apple. On the second apple, what you get is this much. Please focus on the cursor. And what you pay is this much. Make sense? And now how many apples you consume so far? 2. And your total utility is now this whole box. So this is your total utility box. What about third apple? What you get is this much. What you pay is same. This is a lesson for us to stop. It means that as an ideal consumer, you should only buy 3 apples here. Because here, the price is more than marginal utility. And at the point of equality, we call the word equilibrium. I'll come back to this word equilibrium quite often. But equilibrium is point where from where you don't want to go away. You don't want to, it's like a point of nirvana where you want to be. And you don't want any change, any deviation from it. And that is when the price equals to marginal utility. But my worry is that if you keep consuming more apples and you buy another apple, fourth apple, the problem is that what you give is this much. But what you get is this much. And this portion is basically a hole in your utility. So this can be called as a negative utility. So it goes away, basically. You lose in the bargain, you lose in the consumption process. So when you buy fourth apple, this much portion is subtracted from this box. And you end up, when you leave the store, you are worse off. You haven't been a truly rational consumer. To be a truly rational consumer, you should never buy more than 3 apples. And how do we know it? Because we know the shape of marginal utility curve, that it's downward sloping. And we know that in the market, the price is fixed. The price is given. And as long as you remain in the store, price will remain fixed. And then you compare what you, now this thing is a little bit complicated, please. It's not as simple as it looks on the picture. Marginal utility is your behavioral or psychological phenomenon. Do you believe it? It's like things in the head. Price is a technical thing. So see, the marginal utility is a psychological or a behavioral phenomenon. Price is a technical phenomenon. It's a technical thing. You go, there is a price tag. Okay, you see okay, this is a price. Simple. There's no tag of marginal utility. Do you go to store and you find that instead of writing price, they write marginal utility? Start checking. Go next time to Prisma and say, hey, can I talk to your manager? Can you put this word additional information on the packets called marginal utility from tomorrow onwards? Believe me, they would laugh. They will not be very amused. Okay, because it varies from person to person. For a Apple obsessed person, maybe this level is much higher. For somebody who doesn't like Apple that much, maybe this curve would be low. So the point I'm trying to make here is that this looks very nice on a piece of paper because it's a theory. But in the reality, you also do it, but because see what, there is, as I said before, there's always a price in your mind. Look, this marginal utility, look, you consume first apple. You see what? Now, this is a very important thing which I'm going to say. This much, only focus on this length of the line. This is actually the price which is in your head, which you can pay the maximum. You with me? The marginal utility length, this much, is the price which, even if they really force you, you pay for it because this is what you getting. So marginal utility, this price. So I can also say that marginal utility is a psychological price, is a psychological price you want to pay. It's a psychological price you want to pay. Oh, what I'm doing. Yeah, this is the psychological price you want to pay. But this price, which is given in the market, is a technical price. So as long as the psychological price you want to pay is more than the real price or technical price, you continue consumption till both psychological price, which means the maximum price. When I say psychological price, I just created this word now. Psychological price or the marginal utility means the maximum price you can ever pay on Apple. And this price is the technical price is given in the market. So as long as the price in your head is more than the price you pay, you keep consuming till both become equal. But if you go beyond it, then the price you're willing to pay is this much. And the price you actually pay is this much. It seems like somebody kidnapped you and forced you pay additional price for the Apple, which is, why would somebody do it? And why would we let it happen? It means we are not rational consumers. You get my, the visualization? So therefore, a rational consumer would stop consuming when he or she reaches this point of nirvana, the moksha, whatever you call it. And then we say, no more consumption. Now we are satisfied. Stop the consumption. Yes.
I heard what you explained, but I wanted to further it. Like when I become the rational consumers, I see the balance of the
Total.
margin. So it's, does that mean that I become, well, you have the word psychological, what's that price?
Psychological price.
Yes. And if we talk about the stability of the person, especially talk about the finances, so does it mean that I don't balance my market or my budget because I don't know I exceeded. I have this kind of problem that I am a irrational consumer. I keep on buying even I already knew that I don't get much as what I pay. So the problem there, because I think I am like that. I even like buy, even I knew already that it's the I don't get what I paid for. So it's my question is the margin that until you said that for the personal consumers, at the margin we have to know that we have to buy only in this price. We have to stop here because this is the balance margin that we still have.
True.
But when we get exceeded in that, does it affect our financial?
Of course it does.
Yes, and also our what will happen? I mean, the question is like, what will happen if we more exceeded because we don't have good because we are more like irrational. We're humans.
Yeah, but I know I admit that we are not fully rational. I will not even call ourselves as irrational. I will call that sometimes we are non-rational. Because rational and irrational, there's a one middle ground called non-rational. We can be non-rational at times. But the point is that if you go beyond this, number one, you ended up buying more units which you don't need. And at the same time, by spending the money on this fourth Apple, you have to cut short your budget on something else. When you went to Prisma, you didn't go only to buy Apple. You also wanted to buy milk. Now, by buying fourth Apple, you are, number one, you have not acted rationally. By buying fourth Apple, you should have stopped at 3. You bought fourth. So on the one hand, you bought something which you didn't need actually. But at the same time, by spending money on the fourth Apple, 30 cents extra, with this 30 cents, you could have bought some yogurt, which would have given you more satisfaction. So this will make you, this is like a double whammy. You end up buying something which you don't need. Number one, you are left with less money to buy something which you need. So this acts on both sides. Yeah, it does harm you. Did I answer you? Yeah. So this is something, it's because this concept, marginal utility, you might be finding it, unless you read it many times, or you have read before, you know it already. You might ask that, what this concept, how we use it? I think the more grounded way of learning it is that always consider marginal utility as the price which you have in the head. Like, for example, when I land at Tikakoski Airport, you know, there is an airport at Jyväskylä, yeah, in a icy, chilly, cold December night, and I haven't booked a taxi to come to Jyväskylä. And I haven't booked, I just come out of the exit at the airport. There's one taxi there. And there are some people who are moving. And I know that if I don't be quick to talk to this guy, this cab driver who can drive me, which is quite far away, about 25 kilometers from the city. And we don't have the bus service, so it could be a problem, yeah? So you might have spent the whole night at the airport. So there's a one taxi. You know that, you know what? Even if this guy asked me for 100 euros, I would pay. Don't you think like this? I mean, of course, you will not pay 10,000 euros, but there is some price in your head realistic, even though it's psychological, depends upon how intense your demand is. But still, in a way, it's not irrational. You don't call it 1 million, you don't call it 10,000, but you know something close to reality, behavioral, psychological, but something matching with the reality. You know that, okay, 100 euros, let's say, if he asks me for 100 euros, I will just go down the taxi without thinking. This is the marginal utility. And then you compare, you ask him, imagine, even though it doesn't work like this, but imagine that you ask this guy that how much money would you charge? And you say, okay, all right, city center, 40 euros. Are you happy or not? Are you happy or not? Why are you happy?
If you have the price already in your head,
Yeah.
which is close or not exceeded to the 40 euro, you are happy.
Yeah.
But if you think something about your situation, if he said 200 euro, you will go, as you said, because you're thinking about the situation.
No. It could be possible that you go with, you are willing to pay 100, he demanding 200. In that case, marginal utility is negative. And here also, when you buy the fourth apple, the marginal utility or the whole bargain is negative, isn't it? So this can happen. So your surplus, what you get from the consumption, can be negative. But definitely, you will not be willing to pay 10,000 euros. I mean, at the most, what will happen? I have to spend one night inside the airport.
It's your psychological. You don't want to be in the cold.
Yeah, it depends. Look, it depends. I tell you something. I don't have any urgent meeting the following day. I don't even have 100 euros in my pocket. And I know that the airport inside is quite comfortable. I can just lie down on some couch. There are washrooms and everything, fine, no problem. And they are not even going to throw me out of the building. Then the price I'm willing to pay, this psychological price, would go down. But if the matter is of life and death, they would throw me out. They say, hey, this was the last flight. What are you doing here? Go. You say, I have no taxi. It's your problem. Or if I have very urgent meeting the following morning, which can cost me a fortune, then the psychological price which I'm willing to pay will go up. Like the example I gave you, that you are lost in the desert and you are offered a glass of water. You might pay all your money, even all your wealth, because if you don't drink water, you will die. And who would you save the money for then? So it depends on the intensity. As I said, it's a very complex, sophisticated mixture of technical factors and behavioral factors, psychological factors. That is why it was not in my mind before. This is why I ended up calling marginal utility as a psychological price. Depending upon situation, depending upon intensity, this price can be up or down. Make sense? Yep. Just imagine. I think I got a very good idea. I want to share it with you. Marginal utility of Apple. Do you believe it? A for Apple. This is for one consumer. Let me give you example. Sarah. This is for Sarah. And let's call Sarah as X. Zara. She loves Apple. Let's say that she loves apples more than Sarah. Apple, maybe she eats only apples in breakfast, but she eats apple in all the meals. Very much apple willing person. What type of word I used? Apple willing, yeah, apple eating person. Then for you, this line would be like this. So marginal utility of Apple for the person Y, because the person Y is more Apple liking person. And for the fourth person, maybe this point of equilibrium reaches maybe at the sixth or seventh Apple unit, whatever you could call it. Even though technically the price is same, you go, I go, somebody else go, the price in the store is 30 cents per unit. But the psychological price would be different for different persons, depending upon your liking, your taste, your behavior, your intensity of the situation. So therefore, remember that this one curve is not one size fits all type of thing. It's for one person. That is why I'm using that this marginal utility is a behavioral side. And we are different people, we have different behavior. But when we go to little, the price of marker, the price of Apple, the price of whatever is same for no matter who you are. And it's a good news that they don't know your marginal utility, because if they know, they would charge more price for Apple from you, because you are willing to pay more price to them. Imagine in the future, they have AI tools and something like this, they read your mind. And then you know what? Zara is willing to pay €1 for one Apple. Let's charge €1 from her. Sarah is willing to pay 30 cents. Let's take 30 cents from her. And if Zara says, why are you charging from me €1? And say, oh, hey, you buy or you leave, it's fine. And because Apple is such an important part for Zara that she had no choice but to pay for it. It's a good news that the stores don't know. And this is why people say that whenever you go to a shop, you want to buy some dress or something, never show that you like it too much to the sales assistants. Have you ever heard? I mean, I'm not a very rational consumer, but I know that this happens especially in those things which the price can be bargainable. You can bargain the price. And you go to a store and you say, oh my gosh, this is something I was looking for ages. Believe me, you will end up paying more. Because then now they read your psychological price. And then they raise the technical price up. But if you are calm, cool, and you know, okay, that corner is my favorite corner. But you take a round and then you go, okay, this dress, okay, how much? Very neutral. Maybe they will charge less money to make you buy. Or they say €60. I don't think it's worth 60, even though you're desperate to buy it. All right, for you, €50. 50? What about 45? And then you say, okay, I'm going to, no, 45, please. So the point I'm trying to make is that even in the non-standardized shops where the price tag is not there, now you can't bargain about apples and little, yeah? But if I change my example to some outfit, and there is no price tag, the person would just see your behavior. So then this can be acted differently, okay? Any other comment, any point you want to talk about it? Something can supplement you? I think it's a good discussion. You raised a very important point. Otherwise, I wouldn't have compared two people. And I wouldn't have compared that how people can read your mind. Yeah. In fact, my daughter told me sometimes ago that on some airlines, when you use some web browser and you check the price, okay, but you don't buy the ticket. But if you afterward plan to buy the ticket and you go to the website, the price is more than what was before. Because they have read it, they have seen it, somebody has seen it, that you have shown it, even though you didn't buy the ticket, but you have shown your liking. So you are a potential customer. So now when you do it, they would say, oh, he checked this. He checked the same dates, the same flight some time ago. Okay, take more money, cut him, make a hole in his pocket, a bigger hole. She even told me how to stay away from, she mentioned something that if you use this browser, then nobody would know.
Yeah.
Do you know that? What is that? Hey, I'm not so rational as you are. This is another example of being non-rational. What is the browser called? There is something that you can actually make sure that they are not able to know about you, that you have searched the same thing before. Something is there, yeah. Okay. Anyway, so there is something in the chat. Yeah. Your consumption, good. Good point, Ajadi. UC4, you were 3. You said 3, it was correct. Downward sloping curve. Yeah, excellent, excellent, excellent. So with this, we close our session.